Dustin. Man, Dustin really threw me off with this one. For decades, Meryl Streep stood in Hollywood like a fortress, graceful, focused, always above the mess. She never snapped, never slipped, never showed even a hint of personal beef. But at 76, she finally let the mask drop, and what came out had the whole industry gasping. In a rare moment of honesty, Meryl straight up admitted there were actors she didn't just dislike, she couldn't stand them. And when those names hit the light, people felt the ground shake under them. These weren't small-time co-stars or random rivals. These were cinematic giants, legends everyone assumed she admired. What made it even wilder was how boldly she laid everything out, exposing each one with sharp, unfiltered truth. Once you hear why, you'll never watch some of these pairings the same way again. Subscribe now and don't miss a single story. Kevin Kline, the on-screen lover Meryl secretly had real tension with, kicks off this shocking lineup. On screen in Sophie's Choice, 1982, they looked like they were perfectly in sync. Their chemistry felt natural, even tender. But behind the scenes, whole different story. Rehearsal rooms turned into pressure cookers. Meryl spent months digging into survivor accounts, learning Polish and German dialects, and shaping every tiny detail of Sophie's broken inner world. She built that character piece by piece with heavy emotional labor. Kevin Kline, though? He moved off instinct. He liked to improvise, to float through scenes, and let emotion lead without too much planning. That mismatch didn't spark magic. It sparked tension. People who were on set talk about one rehearsal where Kline looked at her and asked, "Are you sure the audience is going to care more about your vowel sounds than what she's feeling?" That line hit Meryl like a slap. To her, that wasn't just a critique, it was a shot at her entire approach. Sophie's unstable voice was tied to trauma, loss, and survival. To dismiss that was to dismiss the character's whole truth, and Kevin didn't stop there. In later interviews, he referred to her process as academic. Maybe he thought it sounded harmless, but Meryl felt it was straight disrespect. She had poured every part of herself into that role, and hearing it brushed off like some classroom exercise cut deep. After that film wrapped, the distance between them was real. They never reunited for another movie, and even at award shows they kept things polite but chilly. Meryl stayed cordial, sure, but the frost was unmistakable. Kevin Kline ends up taking the first spot on this wild list because it's still shocking to people that the man who helped bring one of her greatest performances to life was also someone she vowed never to work with again. And right after him comes Jeremy Irons, the cold, distant actor Meryl truly could not stand. If Kevin Kline was a wound Meryl never fully shook off, then Jeremy Irons was the scar that kept burning long after the cameras stopped rolling. To the public, their pairing looked like a dream. Two elite actors, both classically trained, both admired around the world. But once the lights dimmed, the truth showed itself fast, and it wasn't pretty. They straight up clashed over what acting should be. Irons moved like a marble statue come to life, controlled, elegant, and almost carved into perfection. Streep, though, came from the opposite lane. She built her characters from pain, memory, and lived experience, pouring real human depth into every role. What seemed like a simple creative difference quickly turned into something way colder, real disdain. People who were there still talk about one brutal rehearsal where Irons shrugged off her detailed accent work as nothing more than technical tricks. For Streep, that cut deep. She once explained, "An accent isn't performance, it's biography." To her, implying otherwise was almost disrespecting the people whose stories she tried to carry with care. After that, the line between them became crystal clear. He thought she was over the top. She thought he was emotionally hollow. And when they got in front of the camera, their scenes felt like duels. His icy control up against her fiery emotional weight. Crew members whispered that they had never seen two actors stand inches apart, yet feel miles away. So Jeremy Irons doesn't just sit in second place on this list. He marks the moment when admiration turned into quiet contempt. Their combined talent could have created history, but instead it left a trail of silence, and a lot of people wondering what could have been. Next up, Alec Baldwin, the improviser who drove Streep to the edge. Nobody expected a romantic comedy to turn into a war zone, but on the set of It's Complicated, things got messy fast. Instead of sparks, there were explosions. The chemistry fans adored on screen was actually fueled by a behind-the-scenes battle for control of every moment. Director Nancy Meyers hoped Baldwin's looseness would blend nicely with Streep's precision, but it backfired instantly. While Streep studied Jane Adler's emotions with surgical detail, Baldwin blew through scenes with wild improvisations, changing lines, throwing in jokes, flipping rhythms without warning. It drove her up the wall. After one chaotic rehearsal, Streep snapped, insisting, "Comedy has to be grounded in truth." Baldwin fired back with his own philosophy. That truth only shows up when you let the moment breathe. Neither of them budged, and every scene became a power struggle wrapped in forced smiles. To this day, Baldwin jokes about their tension, brushing it off like it was nothing. But Streep, she's never softened the story. Their playful, flirty vibe on screen fooled the audience, but behind the curtain, it was anything but sweet. People on set knew the truth. Every laugh hid tight jaws and clenched teeth. Now let's talk about Jack Nicholson. The co-star Meryl Streep could never bring herself to accept. The wild part? They never made a single movie together, and that wasn't coincidence, it was strategy. From the very start, Streep shut down every attempt to pair them, convinced his whole acting vibe went against everything she believed in. Back in the late 70s and early 80s, studios kept trying to lock them into serious dramas, convinced two powerhouses together would mean instant box office domination. But after a few early meetings, every project fell apart. Why? Because the way they approached acting was worlds apart. Streep treated the craft like a responsibility, deep research, dialect work, emotional truth, all of it. Nicholson, on the other hand, played off pure swagger and instinct. He even joked in an interview that preparation was intellectual masturbation. That line hit Streep like a blade. To her, authenticity was sacred, and hearing him mock it so casually felt like a betrayal of everything she stood for. Casting director Juliet Taylor later summed it up clean. Jack represents everything Meryl thinks is wrong with stardom. After that, Streep quietly vetoed every project with his name attached. At award shows, the two exchanged nothing more than stiff nods. Their body language could freeze the whole room. Hollywood noticed these two legendary stars never shared a screen, not because offers were missing, but because the tension built a wall too tall to climb. Then came Gwyneth Paltrow, the one who symbolized everything Streep couldn't stand. To Meryl, Gwyneth wasn't just another actress. She was the face of what she saw as modern Hollywood's shortcut culture: privilege, branding, and fame without the grind. In the 90s, Paltrow's rise looked effortless. Daughter of Blythe Danner and Bruce Paltrow, she strolled through doors others fought years to reach. Critics loved her polished charm. But Streep? She simmered beneath the surface. Streep spent her whole career treating acting like sacred labor, months of research, full immersion, transforming into every character. Watching Paltrow soar to the top off timing, connections, and image felt to her like a slap to the craft. Then came the breaking point, the 1999 Oscars, Paltrow won Best Actress for Shakespeare in Love. That same year, Streep gave one of her most demanding performances in One True Thing. She smiled for the cameras, but behind closed doors, friends say she described the awards as a marketing contest pretending to be art. She never said Paltrow's name, but everyone knew where the arrow was pointed. Interviewers kept asking her about rising actresses. She'd praise Cate Blanchett, Amy Adams, Jessica Chastain, actors known for digging deep and preparing hard, but she never mentioned Gwyneth, not once. Industry folks noticed the frosty energy at award shows, short smiles, quick nods, zero warmth. Even years later, nothing thawed. As Paltrow built her goop empire, Streep kept her distance, treating her not as competition, but as a cautionary tale of what Hollywood becomes when the craft gets replaced by branding. One stood for legacy, the other for the rise of celebrity culture, and between them was a gap too wide to ever bridge. Now we reach Dustin Hoffman. The slap Meryl Streep never forgave. This wasn't some quiet little behind-the-scenes clash. It exploded right in front of the cameras with the entire crew watching. People on set later said the whole room went dead silent because nobody expected Hoffman to snap into something so intense without warning. It wasn't bold acting. It was a moment that spun the entire production off its axis. While filming Kramer vs. Kramer in 1979, Hoffman walked into a scene that was supposed to be emotional but controlled, and then, out of nowhere, slapped Streep across the face with zero signal or setup. Not a whisper, not a hint, nothing. It wasn't acting at all. It felt like humiliation dressed up as spontaneity. And the second it happened, Streep's entire view of Hoffman changed forever. To her, acting was a craft built on trust, on shared rhythm, on two people building emotional truth together, not one person deciding to shock the other for a reaction. Hoffman, deep in his heavy method mindset, believed chaos created truth. He was the type to blur the line between character and real life until nobody knew which version of him they were dealing with. He'd toss in wild improvised moves hoping something raw would appear. But for Streep, getting blindsided like that wasn't authenticity. It felt like a violation of the safety every actor deserved on a set. She later said plainly, "That was overstepping. That was not acting." And those words came from a wound that didn't fade easily. Director Robert Benton basically spent half the production acting like a referee, not a filmmaker. Every day he had to navigate Hoffman's unpredictable swings and Streep's careful precision. Their divorce scenes looked brutally real on screen because the emotions behind the camera were real too. Crew members whispered that some of the tears, some of the explosive reactions, weren't performances at all. They were real responses to real tension. The movie crushed it at the Oscars. Hoffman took Best Actor, Streep won Best Supporting Actress, and Hollywood celebrated their incredible chemistry. But behind the applause, Streep walked away with emotional scars no award could erase. She never worked with Hoffman again, and even years later she called the experience professionally productive, but personally intolerable, which was her polite way of saying she never wanted to experience anything like that again in her life. And here's the part people don't talk about. Industry insiders said the fallout changed how Streep approached future projects. She became even more selective about the energy she allowed on set, who she trusted, and what kind of acting style she would accept around her. Some actors even said privately that after Kramer vs. Kramer, she built a silent boundary Hoffman never knew how to break. Even decades later, the story still shocks younger performers who hear it for the first time. 6 actors, 6 grudges, and not a single one forgiven. Which story blew your mind the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to Secret America for more untold Hollywood rivalries.